The story today is called The King and the Magic Drum. Once in a faraway land, there was a king who had a magic drum. Whenever he beat upon it, huge feasts would appear, and he would invite all of his countryside to come, the farmers and the town workers and the animals, the antelopes, and everybody loved the king because he was so generous. But besides being generous, he was also wise, and he knew that if he did that every day, the people would get lazy and they would forget how to make their own food. So he only did it once in a while on special occasions, and the people would go back and doing their own things, doing their jobs, doing whatever they were supposed to do, the animals that would eat in the field, and the people would work and fix their own food. But they always kept one ear listening for one day there was a tortoise who was going out to seek food for his family. And I don't know if you've seen them before, but sometimes when the palm trees get blown a lot, they kind of get so that they lean sideways. Well, this tortoise took his basket and he started up the trunk of the tree, and he was going to get some palm nuts. Went up to the top of the tree and he was picking palm nuts and putting them in his basket. And one of them fell onto the ground. And a woman was walking by and she picked it up and she ate it. "Woman," called down Tortoise, "you just ate my palm nut." "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Tortoise," she said, looking up. And when he looked down, he could see who it was. And it gave him an idea, because he had been watching and looking from the top of his pine tree. He could see the palace, and he had been thinking to himself, "Oh, here I am working all day, every day to get food for my family. And that king over there has a magic drum, and he never has to work like that for anything. I wish I had that drum." Well, once he saw who the lady was, it gave him an idea. And so he called to her, "You have stolen the food that I have been gathering for my family. You are a thief, and I should report you to the king." "Oh, Mr. Tortoise," she said, "I didn't know it was your food. I would not have eaten it had I known that. But if you feel like you need to report me to the king, I will go with you, because I am the king's wife, and I know a shortcut that will get us to the palace faster." So the tortoise carefully backed down the trunk of the tree, and he followed the queen through the woods on the shortcut to the palace. And when they got to the palace, they went into the throne room, and there was the king sitting on his throne. And he said, "What can I do for you, Mr. Tortoise?" Oh, king," said the tortoise, "this woman here, she has stolen food that I was getting ready for my family. She is a thief. She stole food." And the king looked surprised, and he said, "Wife, is that true? Did you steal food from the tortoise?" And his wife said, "Well, I didn't mean to, because I didn't know it was his food. But yes, I stole it and I ate it." "Oh," said the king. "Well, we should do something for you, tortoise, then. We should do something to make things better. Let me think. How about you can choose one thing from the palace to take home with you?" So all afternoon, the tortoise walked around the palace, looking at this, touching that, but he did not find the very thing that he was looking for, which was, of course. And as he was walking around, he finally came back behind the throne, and he saw a little cupboard back there. And he thought, I wonder what is in that little cupboard. So he went over to it, and he opened the cupboard door, and there was the drum. Oh, that's what he wanted. And the king had just come in and said, "Well, Mr. Tortoise, did you find something that you would like to have from the palace?" And the tortoise said, "Yes, I did. I will take this drum." Oh, the king was not expecting the tortoise to have found his drum, but he was a man of his word. And so he told the tortoise he could take the drum. But there was one thing about that drum that king knew that the tortoise did not. And that was, when you went walking outside, if you stepped on a stick and you broke it, the magic of the drum would disappear. And instead of food appearing, enemies would appear, and they would attack you and wanting war, war, war. So the king let the tortoise take the drum, but he did not tell him about the stick part. And so the tortoise went home joyfully calling, "Wife, wife, family, family, look what I have. I have the king's drum. We shall never be hungry again." And the wife came out, and she was just ecstatic. And so were the children. Show us, Papa, show us how it works, Papa. And so the king took the drum and he beat on the drum. As there on the floor of their little cave, there appeared a wonderful feast for tortoises. And so they ate and ate and ate until they were very full. But now, did the tortoise share his drum with anybody else? Did he invite his neighbors over? No, he never did. What he would do is just they would eat, and then the tortoise would go out and stroll around the neighborhood, bragging about how he never had to work for food anymore. And all the other animals were jealous and angry with him for being such a stingy tortoise. Well, one day he was out for a walk and he stepped on a stick and broke it. When he got home, his family was waiting for dinner and they said, Papa, Papa, beat on the drum. And he beat on the drum, but instead of a wonderful feast, all of his enemies, all of his angry neighbors came bursting through his door and started beating on his shell and trying to tip him over. And the tortoise said, Run, family, run down to the river. And so they ran down to the river and he ran after them. And they got down and they got under some bushes at the edge of the river. And the enemies went away. And from that day on, the tortoises ate snails and slugs and worms and whatever bugs they could catch. What happened to the magic drum? No one knows. But everyone listens all the time and looks around all the time, hoping that once again they will hear the beat of that magic drum.